Like a soldier, I'ma stand up and pray to my Lord. Like a soldier, I'ma fast my 30 days for my Lord.
Do I look fat in this? It's no longer our wives only ask this question, it's even our kids asking this question. Today, we go deep into a topic that's been plaguing us. Over the past 6 decades, we've seen obesity not double, not triple, but quadruple within children. And unfortunately, it's not just one subset. Everyone's being affected by this. So, alhamdulillah, today, JAANWAAR Fitness is going to try to tackle this issue. And alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, you're joined with myself, Saad Qadri, and Mudj, who's clearly not here, and Shaq, sponsored by Super Donut, to discuss this topic.
Yes. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome back.
It's been a while.
It hasn't been that long, so alhamdulillah, I'm glad we're being consistent.
Yeah.
Dude, obesity.
Obesity.
But before we get to obesity, what is this? I mean, you just threw this on us right before we
So
started.
interesting that we're talking about this topic about, I think we're going to be talking about this and cutting. So I cut down sugar significantly in the last 1 month. And I was eating a lot of sugar, like a normal person sugar. I think candy, cookie, whatever I can get my hands on. Nothing, not like overly eating it, but just like a normal, I think how a normal person would eat it. If it's in the house or wherever it is, I was eating it on a daily basis. Then I just stopped. I consciously stopped. I said, man, I just have to stop. I just couldn't get rid of the bloaty fatness and just, just certain things, like the fat holes, sugar fat especially. So I just cut it down and I eat a lot less sugar. I don't eat zero sugar. I don't think that's possible, but I eat a lot less sugar, enough to keep me satiated. But this is one of my favorite snacks, so I brought this for you guys too. It's called a Super Donut. I know it's, I don't know if you guys remember, but way back in the day, they used to sell, they used to give these in school.
At Peterson School?
Yeah, even at Peterson School. Those are very well known. I mean, even if you read the history of it, it tells you about it. So, but what I like about it is that it's, it actually does go bad in 2-3 days. You have to refrigerate this donut. And not that we're sponsored by it or anything. I just literally brought it to just become like, I don't eat sugar, but when I do, every day when I want something sweet, I eat this Super Donut. I just like it a lot. It's got minerals and fibers in it. It's got 5 grams of protein. And it's a very dense donut when you eat it, and you could tell it's packed with minerals and fibers. So I'm not promoting it as a good item, but this is my like little, my sweet dessert that I'll eat. So
let's talk about that. Kids always want to eat something sweet.
Yeah.
They want to have cereals at home. They want to have their Cocoa Puffs, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and
all the kids do. And this topic is interesting. I want to take this back a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
So the child obesity definitely is a big issue. But, we have to kind of dial it back and see, where does it start from? This doesn't start from, when the kid is 1 year old, 2 years old, or when the kid starts beginning to eat. This is something that is affecting them from the time of pregnancy. So
true.
I'll start from there. A lot of times you'll see that, when a family gets, is expecting a baby, the husband gets fat too. I know we see this all the time.
It's called sympathy weight.
It's sympathy weight. What happened? Oh, my wife is craving all these things at nighttime during the daytime, and so I'm eating with her. Obviously, I would too, right? If my wife wants ice cream at 12 o'clock at night, I'm gonna go get ice cream. I'm probably gonna have a couple of bites with that ice cream.
Yeah.
And then this is an all day thing. But what has become a somewhat of and this is an American culture thing, that woman gets fat and she's eating like whatever she wants to. Yes, there is this, you need to eat a little bit more because obviously you are growing a life inside of you. It's going to require a lot more, calories. Of course, if you want it to have a healthy pregnancy, you want to make sure that the child is receiving, your body is receiving all the nutrients that it needs in order for you to have a good pregnancy, right?
Yes.
And to provide the right atmosphere for the child, the environment. But we've taken it overboard. Yes, women do have cravings. A lot of these cravings you have to understand are emotional and because of our surroundings and environments, right? If you lived in a country that you had no idea what Cheetos was and ice cream was, you probably wouldn't crave Cheetos and ice cream.
Yeah.
100 years ago, a pregnant woman didn't say, "I really want hot Cheetos tonight." No, it just didn't happen, right? So you're also a product of your environment of this whole idea. Women are when they're pregnant, they need to have ice cream and all the junk food in the world, and it's okay because they're pregnant and we should let it go. It's not, and this is where. Your baby's health starts from the time that you get pregnant.
Yes.
That is something that we have to know. Everything you eat affects that baby. And when that baby is born and you're wondering why this baby has certain medical issues, and a lot of children nowadays, if you look at the stats, childhood chronic disease has gone up 74 or 55% or 75% in the last 50 years in America. It's insane. In 1950 something, they had done a study. Only 3% of Americans had chronic diseases. Today, 74% of Americans have chronic diseases. Most of them are children. All right, where does it come from? It's definitely coming from the food. It's definitely coming from other stuff that the government makes you guys do. Like there's a lot of things that's happening.
So
In this.
let's take this step by step. So I agree with you that and even spiritually speaking, when you're talking about raising a righteous child, we don't start the moment the child is 10 years old or 7 years old. They have to have their Ameen or Bismillah. This starts from the moment the family is considering even coming together.
Yes.
How are you going to marry husband, wife? Who are you going to marry?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why you're marrying them?
Why you're marrying them? 100%. So
everything, and that spirituality. I mean, you have to understand too, right? Like we know that it affects. We've talked about it so many times. Food affects our spirituality directly.
Perfect. There you're there.
So if you're there in your pregnant state and you're feeding your child with all this stuff, and it's not just junk food, it's eating outside food, And we talked about this recently too, where outside food has a very profound negative effect on a human being's psyche, spirituality. And there are some scholars that I've actually met who will not eat out food no matter what. I mean, it just doesn't. They all go starving, Pregnant women are eating everything and anything without thinking and without doing it, without a second thought.
Yeah.
So that's where it starts from. And then what happens is your child does already have could have some issues when they're born, right? So they're coming. And then it's kind of in their DNA, right? You're eating all this junk food while they're pregnant. After they start eating and getting big, they're kind of, craving that same food. You've kind of gotten used to that. You've already started the process.
So when we had to do these trainings, because my profession is education, and we had to do these trainings about diabetes, the different types of diabetes and gestational diabetes, and and so all of these conversations. One of the conversations that came as a result of it was, okay, what are the lifestyle habits that we're forming? And I know you're not like blaming women. We're talking about the whole family structure has to take responsibility over here.
Yes.
Everyone and so now like we look at children. I think the first thing we have to identify right away is that when we're talking about children noticing that they're overweight or being overweight, there's a whole environment that is creating children who are not healthy, and this comes from sedentary lifestyles, overuse of electronics. We're no longer people who like to go outdoors, even for walks, etc. Everything has to be a drive. Even if you're walking half a block to the masjid, let's just drive over. And so the whole lifestyle has begun to produce people who are not healthy.
Yep.
So from the time that we're looking at a family that comes together, husband and wife comes together, they're deciding to have a child, they have a child, Allah bless them with the child. From the very beginning, why is it that we don't think right away that super donuts kick in? Well, why is it that we're right away we don't think about this? Why is it we're such reactionary creatures? We always wait something happens to react.
I mean, again, right? It's the kind of the environment that we've created for ourselves. First of all, I think a lot of I mean, just in general, the general population just hasn't put too much thought into food. I think that's a problem that we have just across the board, right?
Yes.
I mean, in general, our parents, their parents, food was scarce for a lot of the people that came, and then all of a sudden they have an abundance of food, and they're just going, they've lost their mind pretty much, right?
I mean, like think about the term healthy. How we think of healthy and how a Indo-Pak parent healthy.
Yeah, healthy. I always say healthy for them is like, I don't know where they get this idea from. It's a weird idea because really, we were talking about also before about how, if you went back 100, 200 years and someone saw a obese person or a fat person, it would be a big deal. It'd be like, how's that person fat? There wasn't enough food for someone to get over fat, and there wasn't that kind of food that would usually get you fat unless you're really going out of your way to eat something, like desserts or sweets or just whatever it is. I mean, it had to be really rare. And I remember I even had read the first like fat person that people had recorded in history. They have like a recording of this. It's a couple hundred years ago. It's not too long ago at all, actually. And that too was because it was recorded because that person just stood out so much.
Well, if you look at even texts of Islam, like Umar radiallahu anhu, he saw a person with and the Prophet was in his chest and his stomach. The stomach never protruded past the chest. It's clear intermidi. Umar radiallahu saw someone. He said, "What is that?" He said, "This is barakah. This is a blessing from Allah." He said, "Hada azab. This is a punishment from Allah."
Yes,
he didn't like this.
Definitely.
Now, if you look at us four, well, Mujj is not here, but pretend Mujj is here. Look at Asim, yourself, myself. From us four, all three of you grew up lean. I grew up overweight. I was 30% body fat for the majority of my life, well into high school. That's when I began to have this change. And so I want to sort of gear a conversation into what that really does for the child. I always saw myself being overweight. I always saw people, like, we grew up, all three of us, like, down the street from each other. Mujj was West Side, but I met him later. And so you see children, it's You know how I began by saying, like, do I look fat in this? Like, adults ask this, but kids notice this right away. I've seen kids say, like, my leg is bigger than someone else's leg. My
Yeah.
stomach is bigger than someone else's stomach. So this idea of children recognizing their, and we're not trying to shame anyone here.
Hey, I think when we were growing up, if you were fat, I mean, you were called fat.
Oh, I was called fat.
Oh yeah,
My
come
nickname
on.
was Motu. Yeah.
Not just you. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember in Pearson School, if you were fat,
Yeah.
you were known as a fat kid, and there was some nickname for you for sure.
100%.
Even in Mother's Side, we had that. You know, you just can't be fat. It
I remember
just,
one
you
was
know,
fatty fighted 2x4. How the heck you fit
Yeah.
through the door? Like, I remember that. Like, so.
and it was openly, and I don't think the kids were ashamed. They just knew that, hey, we're overweight. You know.
So
and
now,
that's-
but now kids have changed quite a bit. So
Yes.
what we need everyone to look at is, first of all, like, there is a health reality, but there's also a psychological
Oh, of
reality
course,
as
yeah,
well.
of course.
So let's break this down step by step. Let's look at number one. I want us to answer the following question: why is it that our children are becoming fat? And I think one thing we have to point out to right away is healthy lifestyles. I mean, in movement. People don't move anymore.
Yeah.
Most kids, you see them at the airport, at the restaurant, at anything, they always have some gadget in front of them, and they're always doing this. And that translates to summertime, that translates to wintertime, that translates to schools that, and fewer are allowing it now, but during recess time, they're not going out and actually being active.
And it's increasing mental disease, which is a direct impact on your health.
100%.
That. That is that. Besides all that, because we're talking about food mostly, right here.
Yeah, well, I was trying to bring them both together.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely all those factors for sure. You know, it's funny that we're talking about this because I was just reading about, you know, mental health, like, you know, not just mental health, meaning like, you know, meaning like mental illness, mental disease. I'm talking about like actually how to reset your brain, and I'm talking about from a neurological standpoint of view,
Okay.
not a mental health standpoint of view. So when we're talking about neurological, we're talking about like physiological, what makes the brain, like, you know, how you. One of the things was the screen time is destroying our brain cells. One of the easiest reasons, because when you look at the screen, you're not blinking, and you're blinking at least 15 times a minute.
Okay.
And the reason is that every time you blink, you reset. Your
Mm.
brain is having a reset, like a refresh first, you know, a quick refresh, and it kind of gives you focus and clarity, and you understand where you're going. That's why you zone out. Sometimes
Yeah.
when people are watching videos, and I think Asim and I talked about this recently too, right? Even us who are aware of this, if we sometimes, you know, sometimes me and him are looking for stuff on YouTube to see how to like fix something, and then that just. You're just in a rabbit hole all of a sudden, right? You're just looking at video after video, then that video turns into a cool car, and that cool car turns into what the specs are, then you're looking at the racing of the car, and it just continues on for like hours. It's because you're not blinking and resetting in order for you to be, you know, catch yourself and get out of there.
So I want to make this connection now with food, because a lot of our kids who are sort of tied into just screens, and one, it's making them not go out and be active. And if you're consuming, for example, 2,500 calories a day, and you're only burning 1,800 calories a day, that's 700 of excess calories that remain that eventually doesn't just turn to fat.
Yeah.
But the other thing is this habit of being on the screens is also when they're eating.
Oh yeah.
And so when they're eating and they're watching,
Yeah.
they're actually not noticing how full they are.
Oh, it's a perfect consumer. You know, they're the perfect consumers.
Yes.
They're consuming this garbage that's, you know, making them not think, and they're consuming the garbage which already has additives in here to make you eat more, right? It's just you grab a bag of chips and you're watching something and you're eating, you're gonna eat the whole bag.
You're not gonna notice it.
You're gonna notice it.
And
right?
so it's like a 2-in-1 issue. So for parents who are like, man, my child, I see they're gaining weight. They notice they're gaining weight. Like right away, look at the screen time. Look at how much activity they have in their lives. And look, there's a difference between putting activity in your life and being active in your lifestyle. Like we should begin to encourage our kids that we're gonna walk to the masjid. We're gonna be walking to school if we live close enough.
Yeah.
Like why we're always making the car the first option, or making lack of activity the first option is very problematic, because for many people, they cannot control, I know this is not true, but they cannot, quote unquote, control what they're consuming. But if you're going to drop the amount that you're burning, so if it's for your basal metabolic rate, whatever you need to burn and subsist, if you're not having any activity there to raise the calories that you're burning and you're consuming the same amount, your kids are going to gain weight. But also the second part of this first conversation is that if you're giving them screens all the time, not only are they not moving, but when they're eating, and this goes back to what we're talking about in pregnancy. From the very get-go, we create habits. The child is born, now the mother's nursing the child, now the child begins to eat. Oh, they're not eating. Put a screen in front. They'll just start eating, and they become mindless zombies, and they're just consuming and gaining weight. So we got to look at this.
And they're not eating. Also, the other thing is that we have to think about is you're probably thinking, okay, only during the stomach. No, you're breastfeeding. What you eat matters. That goes into
100%.
the food. And then when you're bringing healthy food in front of the kid, you want him to eat it. He's not eating. He wants that garbage food. And you will notice babies will eat the crap faster than they'll eat the good stuff because it tastes better. Right? Just like we're hooked on it, they're hooked on it. So it's the same thing. But What was the next topic that we were?
Yeah. So then, along with this, then we go. Kids are naturally chubby. So what's a chubby kid versus a fat kid, an unhealthy fat kid?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I mean, like pediatricians have all these scales and all this
Yes.
stuff, but I would think that there's baby fat,
Mhm.
which is very limited. I mean, I think by 2 or 3 years old, you're kind of like coming off of that already.
Good. You got into what I want to talk about a little.
And then after that, it's like again, sometimes yes, everyone's genetics are different. Everyone's
genetics are
metabolic
different,
rates are a little
yes.
bit different. I know some kids who down food like there's no tomorrow and they're still skinny and their parents are like, oh look, he can eat the whole world, he's fine. It's like
Yeah.
yes, but he's destroying himself inside just because you can't see it. He might have a very high, children have a very high their metabolic rate is very high. They are burning like no one's business. They're hot. If you ever touch a baby or little kids, they're usually warmer. They're running warmer because they're burning that much more.
So there's two things you brought up. I want to go to both of them right away. So the first one is that kids have baby fat. So when it comes to baby fat, people say, well, how do you know the child's getting fatter? There is, so how do we know that this is just chub versus a healthy or unhealthy disposition?
I mean, the really easiest way to know is what are you eating?
Yes.
If you're eating garbage and he's chubby, he's not unhealthy. You don't have to do. This is the thing. We don't have to overcomplicate stuff.
Exactly.
It's just very simply. If your child is eating garbage and you see him, gaining weight, there's a problem there. It's just as simple as that. If your child is eating good food, all wholesome food, all healthy food, no snacks, no garbage, and then they're getting a little bit on the chubbier side, okay, maybe they're overeating that good food. That could be a possibility as well. You have to look at that. That's the first thing you should look at is how much are they eating, and then if they're eating the right stuff, and they're not eating, then that's just their body style. Maybe they might be a little bit on the bigger side. They might be, and then but you have to then gauge activity. How are they, holding up on? Are they outside? Are they playing? Are they lazy? Are they, there's so many things you should be watching for your children to maintain health. It's not one thing. But
Perfect.
It's very, very simple.
Yeah, and that simplicity is going to be key because no one's going to walk around with a tape measure or with a body fat reader. None of that. Just there's a basic eye test. What are they eating and how do they look? What are they? And it's going to get to the second part in a moment. Now, when we're looking at what are they eating and how are they presenting themselves, it's not only about chub. It's all about laziness, lethargy. Are they not sleeping well?
Yeah.
If you feel like my child's not sleeping well, okay, we're feeding them till 9:30. And look, the stuff that you feed them has a lot of sugars, and then they're not sleeping right.
Well, they have screen time too.
Yeah, screen time as well.
That's messing up their sleep. A lot of kids are playing video games to the last minute. They're in their bed. They're looking at videos. I mean, that all has an effect.
100%. And then also, then the second part is, okay, they may look quote unquote skinny, and this is where I think desi parents would sort of get this wrong. This healdee thing, they look too skinny.
Yeah.
A child knows when he or she needs to stop eating. Like children, I know some children they have smaller appetites, but you sort of know when I need to stop.
Yeah.
And when
and they know when to eat too.
Yeah, and when they know what to eat. And I think we really struggle between the desire of wanting to eat and being hungry.
Yeah.
Now, there may be a kid who's completely lean and may actually be sort of muscular, but if you're feeding them garbage, it's you might say, oh, my child looks healthy. They may look, and first of all, oftentimes you see their skin, they might be breaking out, etc. But they may look healthy. But the long-term habits that we're creating, by the time for women, they hit puberty, there's often body changes. There's the body clings on to fat at that particular time. Oh, I don't understand what had happened. Well, the lifestyle habits that you introduced to them and made it part of their lives. Now is going to, when they have some major event occurs like puberty, or they get a little older, etc., the metabolism slows down. Something happens. If they were healthy, they can maintain still a very functional lifestyle. If they're unhealthy, then you see diabetes creep in, you see other issues occur. And so the eye test is important, but the eye test is not only towards how the person looks, but also towards what you see them put in.
Yeah.
And that's the simplicity Shaq was
You have to see what you're putting in. And to kind of go back in the desi world, and I don't know how it is in other cultures, but in our culture, it's like this eat thing. And I know that our parents' generation, they come over like, oh, the kid eat. It's like such a big thing.
Yes.
You're creating that monster.
Yes.
Right? That kid's gonna grow up. He's gonna eat. Like, why? Why should that kid eat? I tell my dad all the time, like, that baby, when she's hungry or he's hungry, they're gonna come looking for food.
Yes.
And at that time, when they're hungry and they're looking for food, then you can feed them what you want to feed them.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, here's rice and here's chicken. That's what you're eating. That's it. You're hungry, right? You're gonna eat it.
Yes.
But if they're not hungry, they'll eat whatever they're just in a habit, right?
Yeah.
No, we have to we're eating for the fact of eating.
Yes.
Oh, you have to eat 3 times, you have to 5 times. For children, I don't think that's important.
Yes.
For children, it's more important that they're getting everything that they need to eat, on time. They don't need to eat 5 times a day or 3 times a day or 1 time a day. Children know when they need to eat. They're hungry. Babies cry for milk. When they get to 2, 3 years old, they might not say no food, then food. Fine, they don't want to eat breakfast. Maybe they're full in the morning. They don't need to eat. Children will not starve themselves. They're not going to hurt themselves. They're not going to kill themselves. Right? Some children can literally go at full speed for 24 hours without eating. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
Stuff them? You could, right? But if they are going to get hungry at some point and say we need to eat. Wait for it, because what you're teaching them then is that when you need it, when you need sustenance, you're going to come and get it. Right? That's what it's teaching them. But when you're always constantly, cow, did he eat? Did he eat? Oh, eat, feed him. The minute someone comes home, oh, sit down, I'm going to eat. Like, go to these days, why, bro? Why are you telling me to eat? First of all, you're offering me garbage, right? Second of all, you're forcing it down my throat. Why? Yeah. I just told you I ate at home and came. Yeah. But you're my aunt, and then you're feeling bad. Like, why are you making me feel you're doing something wrong? You don't have good etiquette. Yeah. You don't have good mannerisms. That's not good mannerism. It's like, giving someone forcible charity who doesn't need charity and saying, "Oh, I did charity."
It's about making yourself feel good.
I know you're rich, but here, $20. Here's charity. That doesn't count. I don't need to. So people do this. We create this. Yeah. Now you have these kids who are just like eating for desire. Yeah. It tastes good. Oh, I feel like eating. What? You feel like eating? Why do you I'm having cravings. No, you only should be like, oh, I'm very hungry and I feel like eating. Yeah. Not, I feel like having this today and I feel like having that food today. I have that. My kids do that to me all the time. Yeah. Oh, Baba, we're craving. And sometimes I'm not saying be a Hitler monster where, oh, never. No one's saying that. But I want to give my example. Again, I didn't need to go 0 sugar. Yeah. 4 weeks, all I did was I just literally consciously made an effort that I'm not going to eat as much. I'm going to eat a lot less. And I literally dropped like 10 pounds of fat like in no time, and I'm 46 years old and I have a 6-pack, and you can't, it didn't take a lot of effort. Yeah. Right? It didn't. I know, mashallah, it's amazing that I can do that at this age. Right? I was wondering, can I do that? But it literally took a little bit of self-control. I haven't even gone all the way full. If I turn the knob all the way, I can really, make a difference. But I like eating sugar. I like eating a little bit of sugar. I like eating a little bit of outside food. Once a week we do eat it. Once every 2 3 weeks when my kids ask me they ask every day. Children ask every day. Oh, can we have bubble tea today? Can we have wings today? Can we have this today? No. After 2 3 weeks, okay, fine. One day you have wings. Yeah. Right. That's it. But that's not how we're living. Yeah. There's families that eat out 3 times a day. I know people like that. Okay, that's all they eat.
So let's go straight into this because we know people like that. So now you're mentioning that look, a child's gonna eat when they're hungry, but what if the child is hungry at 2 a.m.? It's not gonna be convenient for the family.
Yeah, look,
this is when you start
habits.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can schedule. Yeah,
he's asleep at 2 o'clock. If your kid's not sleeping at 2 o'clock, I know parents who don't put their kids to bed at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. They're letting them on the screen till 10, 11. I've seen it with my own eyes. 11, 12 o'clock. So my wife works late. I work late. This, that. There's no excuses, bro.
So there are ways where you can manipulate a child in a good way to have their meals follow a schedule that's going to be more conducive for you. So, for example, let's say the child likes to eat late in the morning, like at 10 a.m., 11 a.m. If you are able to get them, just so we get a sleep schedule, we got a basic eating schedule going. You have a smaller breakfast for them in the morning, just something that will fuel them. We should not sugary cereals. Look, are they in my cabinets? Yes. Is it something now, after speaking to you like a couple years ago, it's not the go-to. It's just there. Once in a while, you want it, you can have it. Yep. I personally cannot do that because for me, I know it's in my cabinet, but now I've had to work harder. For me, if it's there, I eat it.
Yeah, me too.
And so that's why I prefer not to have it in my household. My children are not as much like that. They're sort of more like my wife. It's not like if it's there, they'll eat it. For me, if it's there, I'll eat it. Yeah. And so as a family, like, I sort of see where they gravitate towards. I have to sort of control myself more. But the family, if you see that your child, if it's there, they're going to consume it, you have to make the tough decision that we're going to have more healthier options available or easily available. Oh, there's fruit in the house. Why won't they eat it? Because it's not cut up. I know I'm not trying to baby the kids, but if the child is gravitating towards just opening a pack and consuming, you might have to go that extra step of having snacks that are healthy there. If the child is 10 a.m., you get these calls from your school saying, your child's hungry. Did they eat breakfast? No, they weren't hungry. Okay, now put in their lives to have a good breakfast, a solid breakfast that has protein in it, that's able to have more complex carbohydrates in there, and they're able to subsist on it till lunch comes, After a couple days, the child will get into the habit of having that, and then by then lunch will hit, and then they'll have lunch again at school.
Habits are very important. I mean, like you said, that this conducive thing. We can't give you a solution to that. That's literally you creating a routine for your child. When there's nothing else to eat, and you start putting egg on the table at 10 o'clock in the morning. One day might not eat it, 2 day might not eat it, but I am like you. Like I said, I have, if it's there, we eat it. And it's just me. It's the kids too. I don't buy cereal. I literally will buy one box of cereal once every 2-3 months. I will literally go like sometimes in the store, like, you know what, I feel bad for them. Let me buy a box of cereal. I have 5 girls at the house.
That's how my wife is,
right? And so, wallahi, that cereal box doesn't last more than I'll bring it even in the evening at 8-7 o'clock. They'll all have a bowl, right? Because they never had it. They won't have it for months. They'll have a bowl in the morning, and then evening they'll have a bowl after. And even at breakfast, my wife's like, you can't have that for breakfast. You could have it as a snack between breakfast and lunch. So they'll have breakfast and have another bowl, sometimes, and then that's it. It's finished. And then they're waiting 2 or 3 months for the cereal. We just don't have it in the house. Guess what my kids eat in the morning? Every single day, my kids eat eggs or oatmeal, or eggs and oatmeal. That's their go-to breakfast. If we have pancakes or waffles, my wife makes them from scratch. They eat that. That's once a week. But otherwise, every single day. Even my 14-month-old baby has a routine. He wakes up every single morning. He's a nursing baby. But at exactly every day at night, between 9 and 10 o'clock, he has to have his avocado. He has a half an avocado and a 1 whole egg. And that's what he eats.
And a protein shake, right?
And he drinks some of my protein shake.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah, he does. But that's not what we give him. He'll see it. You know how kids are. They want to grab everything. So I give him a little bit of protein shake. But his daily breakfast is on time, on routine, and scheduled. And I'll tell you, we went traveling last week, and his routine was off, and it threw him off. He was like not feeling well. He wasn't sleeping well. And then when we got back home, it took like 4 days to get him back on routine. But he has to sleep at certain times. He has to wake up at a certain time, and he eats his food at a certain time. And that's it. That's how he's gonna be. There's not gonna be nothing else. And that's not hard. Parents need to really
be
suck it up.
Be parents.
And I was saying this when I just recently I was telling somebody this. The biggest thing, and this is not just for being healthy physically. This is for your spirituality, your mentality, being a good Muslim person. The 99% of the issue is not the child, it's because the parents just can't do it themselves. If you can't eat healthy, if you can't maintain an active style, when I was talking about, the whole neurological thing, resetting the, like screen time, one of the things that doctor, that he's a neuroscientist, and the very interesting thing he said is that buildings and all these things that we have, furniture, they're very linear, and they don't stimulate the mind. So the mind is just decaying, right? Everything, screen time, houses, living in the city. Nature is it's fragmented. So just to look at nature and just to stare at it stimulates the mind in such a way that it actually promotes growth. And so that, little things like this are very important. Parents, they want to do all these, fancy, weird things, but how about going, taking walks, enjoying more time in nature, right? Yeah. I mean, going to the beach is not nature, all right? Going to Cancun is not nature. That's not nature. Nature, just sand and water is not enough. You have to see the trees, the mountains, the plants, everything. Breathe it in. Live it, right? Take your children on those kind of trips. Do those kind of things. And then, and so, I mean, it's very, like, all these things are very important. The parents themselves don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. They want to go sit in a resort. Right, they want to eat all the junk food in the world. They want to watch movies. They want to go to weddings with song. They want to do all these things, and then they want good kids. And somehow nowadays, becoming a hafiz is like a shaitani fad too. Everyone and their mother becomes a hafiz. So they think, oh yeah, look, my kid's a hafiz, but you know what? We do all these haram things, but we made our child a hafiz.
I think parents do have to become parents.
It is parent. It's 110%. Whatever you want your kids to be. If you want them to be good Muslims, you have to be a good Muslim. You want them to be healthy, you have to be healthy. And you want them to be, eat well, you have to eat well. You want them to pray, you have to pray. It's just that simple.
We have to model the example. And parents are saying this is hard. It's hard. It is.
I don't think it's hard.
No, but until it becomes easy. It's hard till it becomes easy. Like you ask someone who did the first few weeks, it's hard, and all of a sudden now it becomes a habit, and you enjoy it. I enjoy life when I am not on sugar. And then I get on sugar and I think I'm enjoying life. And I enjoy the taste.
You're enjoying the taste for sure.
But then all of a sudden, like when I go and then I
take your shirt off and you see that blubber here.
Yeah,
blubber
that's like daily. And so like all of a sudden it's just like I want to go back to how I was. The children will follow in suit. Now there is parents be your kids' friends, but be their parents first. Now the next thing is, okay, what if your kid is not responding to all this? Blood testing, are any of these things that should
Responding to what?
like, okay, so you have a healthy lifestyle, they're trying to have a healthy lifestyle, you are having a regimented schedule of eating, and it's good food, wholesome food,
Mhm.
and yet they're still gaining weight, etc. So are there certain things that we have to do at that point?
I mean, I think we should go check, make sure everything's okay.
Okay,
That's
cool.
definitely the kind of baseline.
Got it.
I wouldn't go too much into medical intervention per se for any of these health things unless you have some kind of an issue that is not resolved.
What's an example of an issue?
They have diabetes.
Okay,
right? I
good.
mean, diabetes most likely on a child. Controlling that might be a little bit difficult.
Yes.
Right? And as an adult, if you said I am pre-diabetic or I just had diabetes, I'll tell you that, hey, you know what, really hone in on the diet and get there, and then you could get off the medication and stuff like that. With children, it's a little bit different. You have to be a little bit more careful because
Yes.
they're not doing it. You're doing it. And,
Yes.
it's very difficult for you to understand what they're feeling and how they're feeling and what they're responding to. So
Also,
things like
there's
that.
what about
like a serious illness.
there's another one.
know?
I just skipped my mind right now. What you take Synthroid for when you're
Thyroid?
Thyroid.
Yeah,
That's not hyper and
I
hypo.
mean, if you
both.
have
Yeah.
if you have a medical issue like that, not everyone is born 110%. We know that everyone has their own tests. Some people have genetic issues. Some people have mutations. It's not just because they ate bad or they're or they did something wrong during pregnancy. Let's not confuse those things.
Exactly.
So there are children who are born with serious congenital issues, and that is because sometimes there's a mutation. Sometimes their parents are carriers of different genetics,
Yeah.
and then they mix, and then something happens, and that is completely different, right? We're talking about normal people who, not normal, but people who are having a healthy pregnancy, who don't have any other issues, and their children could technically be healthy, but they're unhealthy because of their habits. That is who we're talking about. If you're not responding to something and it's really, really difficult and you're seeing something wrong,
There we go.
then you should definitely go get looked. You shouldn't be. No one should be that dumb. I really hope we don't have audience that dumb that that they take everything at just at like black and white. It's not black and white.
No, but I think the way you laid it out, that was important for people to hear, because people sometimes do right away is they jump to test.
Yeah.
But if for example, like if I'm failing classes, and then someone's like, oh, I think this person has learning disability. Well, am I studying? No.
Yes.
Am I sleeping right? No.
Yeah.
Am I paying attention in class? No. Because probably not learning disability yet.
Yeah, not yet.
And so if we're like, okay, is this person have we looked at their eating? No. Are they regimented? No. Are they off of screens? No. Are they or selected screen time? No. Are they active in life? No. Then to assume right away it's going to be your thyroid, is going to be diabetes, this is dangerous.
Yeah.
We don't want to have medical intervention for no reason. We want to make sure that we are taking care of our lives in accordance to how we should live it in all ways, shapes, and form. Now, the last thing I want to sort of get into is, actually, there's two more things. And one is that what is the expected progress? And what I mean by this is, like, you have a child who's not very active. We can't just throw them into jogging or lifting daily. I mean, we could, but what is a realistic step for parents to take? Because look, if you have like a 9-year-old, 10-year-old who's
I mean, depending on age, right? If
Exactly,
you're like
yeah.
0 to, well, I don't even say 0. Like, just say 2, 3 to like 10, 11. I mean, just playing outside is enough. I mean,
Good.
that's activity. They should be always playing. They should be running. They should be outside bike riding. They should go to the park. I mean, very normal. This is weird talking about this because when we were children, that was our life.
yeah, it was, yeah.
And literally, you didn't see that many obese children. I mean, most of us were outside either riding bicycles
Mhm.
or we were playing sports. Remember, we used to make up.
Yeah.
We used to play baseball together. We played football together. We played basketball together.
Pinners.
Yeah, we're something together. We're just nonstop motion running. I remember in the summertime, especially when we were off of school, we would probably have breakfast in the morning. Then we would be outside till God knows when. Even lunch was like never rarely eaten. No, I don't remember our moms coming out and saying, "Oh, you gotta get inside. It's lunchtime." Very rare. If we got
When it
hungry,
was
we'd run
dark, you
inside.
came in.
Yeah, we got hungry, we'd go inside, grab
Yeah.
something real quick, and come back out.
Yeah.
And then we'd just be playing all day. That's the normal person. Now, if you're saying, "Oh well, they don't have time, they have school," man, you really need to focus on what's important here. I get school is important to a certain degree. I guess that, yes, maktab is important, this and that.
Yeah.
But if you're like, that's all you're doing from morning to night for your children, that's what children, unfortunately, their life is this prison that the system has made out of the education system is, it's an imprisonment for human beings.
Well, John Taylor Gallo says that the education school system is actually based on the prison model.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
You don't need to train someone for 9 hours a day on the front of a book. Train them in real life. Get them real life experience. But whatever it is, point is, if you have your child in those kind of things, and then you have them in a basketball program or a baseball program, I guess that helps. That's some kind of structured, organized routine. That's good. I would say, even though I'm completely anti-sports, as we all know.
Yeah.
And
I think you're anti-organized, unnecessary organized sports. I mean, for movement, family fun, and stuff like that. I think you're
of course,
good, yeah.
I like it. I mean, I think it's great. I just don't like the losing yourself into these little leagues and
100%. Yeah,
running
that's
around.
different.
I mean, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's just insane.
But I just want to jump in on one thing. You said, look, they're at school, then maktab, and then maktab. I accept maktab is very important.
Very important.
But if the kid's going to be sick and in maktab,
yeah,
I don't see the benefit, and I feel bad saying that. And I think as we're sort of wrapping up, we have to sort of understand that if you're going to put Islam as just books, Quran, prayer, and not Islam as the Prophet taught it, which was good relationship with your family, good to your neighbors, Muslim and non-Muslim alike, taking care of your body, taking care of your health, having schedule, sleeping to what's needed, and being awake to what's needed, like all those things, that makes Islam.
Yeah.
And so, like when you were saying, like they put in maktab, etc. I got to challenge parents on this. It's interesting. I grew up with asthma my whole life, and I can name you so many inhalers, etc. I took. What was the biggest change in my life? The biggest change in my life was in 8th grade. I went to a homeopathic doctor, and he, they gave the small sugar pills, and I think it was a placebo. I think he told me, look, and to make this work, you cannot have, and he listed all these foods. I pretty much had to quit all junk food, and then I started wrestling, and then I remember this clearly. I weighed in right before November of 1995, my freshman year of high school, 154 pounds, because they were checking weights for weight classes. January of 1996, this is 3 months, I was 106 pounds.
Oh.
Yeah, and what I remember was like the combination of just dropping junk food and having regular exercise. My asthma improved, my sleep improved, my grades improved.
Oh yeah,
like there's a big improvement, and that was also a time I started having a turn towards Deen as well, because it does come together. And when parents begin to block these off as different compartments, they're not helping their child at all. They're not helping themselves at all either.
I mean, unfortunately, this entire system is geared for the dunya thing. That's all it is. This whole education system, it's a dunya desire. That's what it is. I mean, people are like, oh, yeah, how are you gonna live? How are you gonna survive? I'm living. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a school. I'm not a product of any school system, right? So it's just.
Come on, man.
I mean, here and there, but I didn't complete anything, And you don't have to. I mean, but that's a different topic. But the point is, when you're stuck in a system like that, when do you find time? I don't know. You have to figure that out. You have to be able to
prioritize.
You have to prioritize. You need to make changes. You got to do what you have to do. Whatever it is, I don't know if it's maktab or no maktab, but I don't know. But you need to have a good system and schedule in place. I mean, if worst case scenario, they're playing sports and they're going 3 times a week, they have something to go on. It all depends on your age, from like I said, from 2 to 10, and just playing outside. Give them that time, give them that opportunity. Get rid of the screens, get rid of the video games, get rid of the TV. You shouldn't have a TV. If you do have a TV, it should be turned off except for on weekends or something, and then make them play the rest of the time. Summertime, my kids are home. The TV is not allowed to be turned on. I'm bored. We'll go outside and figure it out.
And that's a different topic. But I hate when parents say like they're bored. Figure it out. We figure it out.
How you be bored, man? I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Figure it out.
Too bad. It's too bad. Let them do something. Go read.
And I encourage parents, look, be creative. Think outside the box just a little. I'll give an example. When I was in Zambia, I had lost quite a bit of weight. Even though I didn't really go overweight, but I lost a lot of weight because we had one car, and my wife's mother's house further than mine. So I had to walk 20 minutes to mother's house, and I had to walk back for lunchtime, then walk again, walk back, and walk again for night class, walk back. That's 120 minutes of walking I was doing daily. So if you're like, look, I don't have time, I don't know when I can get exercise in, you're taking them to school, great. Let's say you're driving them. I know it's going to be a bit of a pain. Leave 10 minutes early, park 10 minutes away, let them walk. Yeah. I mean, you might be like, it's hard. No, it's going to be hard. It's that, or you're going to, later in life, have to take them for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes into the doctor's office and wait. They go into the masjid, fine. Park at the last spot in the masjid and walk yourself over for those 3 extra minutes. You will see these types of changes. if you have snacks like a soup, like, again, we're not like pushing this product, but choose one that has actual vitamins and minerals and it tastes good versus the one that's absolute slop. If you're having desi food, fine, you have to have your desi food. Don't over, a lot of our desi food, the issue is that we just don't put enough meat in it.
Yeah.
Increase the protein there.
Yeah.
Be
Get rid
simple.
of the oil.
Yeah, get rid of the oil.
Reuse the right oils. Use
Yeah.
the right ingredients. Spend money on
I know.
good ingredients.
Yes.
That's one of the most important things that desi people don't. A lot of people do it. Don't do it. When it comes to food, they're just buying the cheapest stuff. Don't buy the cheapest stuff. Don't buy the organic stuff. And another thing, look into the foods, and wholesome, as simple as possible food is the best thing that you can do. I know everything's tainted. Trust me, everything's tainted. Your vegetables are tainted. Your fruits are tainted. The meat is tainted in this country.
Yeah,
I get it. Just do the best you can. And this last thing is stay away, from this idea of superfoods and these fad foods. Like, oh my God, if you take this food, it'll do that. You have all these people taking all these vitamins and minerals and leucine and lysine and this and that. That you're overcomplicating stuff.
Yeah.
I don't do any of that stuff, and I can tell you that at my age, there's not that many people that sit in my category. That's just the reality, and I don't need to do any of that stuff. You don't need to do any of that stuff. That's all gimmicks and nonsense. I see people, oh, did you see this honey, or did you see this black seed thing and this thing? I'm like, man, shut up.
Yeah.
You look like crap, and you're talking about superfoods. Like, what do you want me to tell you?
Yeah. Well, we do want to include what's in the sunnah, but I'm
not talking about sunnah. I'm talking about in general. They get into this weird.
I know. I know.
I know. Oh, and this thing and that thing, and for a lot, hey, like I always have people call me and I say, oh, did you take this? Ashwagandha one time. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, you don't need nothing. I don't even need vitamins. You know how I know I don't need vitamins? I took a blood test last year, and I remember looking at all my vitamins and minerals. Everything was on par except for vitamin D because it was wintertime. And I don't go, no one gets sun in the wintertime. He said, hey man, if you want, if you're feeling a little bit down or something like that, just take some vitamin D.
Yeah.
If not, you're fine. That's it. Simple as that. Why are we stuffing ourselves with all these things,
Keep it
You
simple.
tell anyone to get healthy, the first thing they start doing is going on the internet and researching all these weird foods and all these weird, drinks and this and that. Bro, water, meat, which is protein, simple, complex carbs, meaning keep it simple. Don't eat anything crazy. You don't need to eat, all these weird things. You don't need recipes. You don't need anything. It's the more stripped down to the bones you are, the more healthy you are. They call it paleo. It's not. I'm not promoting paleo either or anything. Any one specific type.
Simple natural diet.
Simple, natural as possible, and staying healthy and staying off the screens. I mean, these are simple things, man. Like simple things. I mean, I don't think I'm a model citizen, but those are just like if I can do it. I always think like if I can do something like that, there's no way other people can't do it. These people, mashallah, are so advanced in everything else.
Yeah.
It's like
sometimes you just hear simplify. I think we're pretty much on time.
Yeah.
Anything from your end you want to add?
Nope. I really think that I do see a lot of improvement in the community. Alhamdulillah. I've been going. A lot more youth are getting more in shape. Some of which is a good sign. I think it's a very good sign. Alhamdulillah, if you guys need anything, we're always here.
Yep.
To answer questions and to help people get through this. But really, I think as a community, as even as humanity, we have to really start taking control of our lives, our diets, and I really hope that we continue this into the point where we're taking over these companies that are making this garbage and able to fix it from the root cause, and that's what it really is. This has become a dangerous thing, and again, it's the pharmaceutical companies and the food companies. They're all together, and they're all doing this together. It's not a big conspiracy, guys. This is reality. These multi-million corporations they don't care about you. You know what I mean? I think just recently one of the guy of a corporation, what was it? I can't remember what it was, and he's like, I would never eat that or feed that to my kids. He's a CEO of the company. And he got
the same thing with the screens as well.
Yeah. Oh, the screen people say the same thing. The ones who create it, they're always coming on, and saying it, and they get killed by the media because, of course, there's an agenda behind all of this, and I think we all know that. And we need to take control of this from all the way. We have to go back to farm to table. That's where we need to go back to.
No.
So, but start simple.
Farm to fork.
Inshallah, start simple.
Yeah, absolutely. Moj, anything from you?
It's just a smiley face.
We definitely miss much. Oh, one thing for me, just before we go, one thing I do encourage parents is that be careful about speaking too much about calories and protein and macros and all those things around your kids, they absorb a lot of what you're saying. And sometimes it could have like this orthorexia, it could have the opposite effect on them. You don't want them to all of a sudden get body image issues. When we talk about it too much, moms or dads always say, oh, do I look fat in this? And the kid begins thinking about it. Approach health as health, not as superficial things. And I think we're good to go. Let's crack open this super donut, inshallah, and enjoy. On behalf of Shaq and Mudge and Austin, I'm going to give my salam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.